Hello, world. My name is Dan. I run a YouTube channel called Danominator, where I talk about video games, movies, TV shows, music, and more with the help of my robotic companions. However, I also have many other passions and interests, including but not limited to music composition, animation, sound design, trains, Legos, stop motion, and many, many others. But today I don't want to talk about just those things. Instead, I'd like to tell you a story. This is me, back when I was very, very little. What you're watching right now is the first camera I ever held. It belonged to, well, let's just say it was pretty special to my family. And I learned recently that thanks to the power of modern technology and whatever random cables I could find lying around amongst my other gadgets and a capture card, I could record these memories and store them digitally. And as exciting as this upcoming digital media preservation project has become, it's also sent me into a bit of a spiral. Not in a bad way, but this camcorder's given me a chance to reflect a lot on my life. How much has happened since I was little. All the things that I've been through. The events that have changed the course of my life and brought me to today. It's also reminded me of just how much better I've become as a person. And in some cases, worse. I'm not tearing myself down. I just genuinely think that is how our lives often go. We improve and sometimes we disprove. We take 2 steps forward and sometimes 2 steps back. We learn from our mistakes, and sometimes we choose not to. But overall, we do hope to eventually cross that summit and keep climbing, even though it takes a long time, and eventually find out whatever happens next. I've been trying to discover that for a really long time now. I've gone on record for saying multiple times that I am allergic to change, and that is easily one of my biggest struggles. It's not that I don't want to look forward to new possibilities of my life. I really do. But it's kind of hard to see that sometimes when it feels like I have never really been in control of my own destiny before. A lot of things in my life have been entirely out of my control. I mean, when you're a kid, that's how things are. You just kind of have to deal and hope things turn out for the better. Well, for me, my childhood was a series of ups and downs. A lot of things that I couldn't control. Things I couldn't do anything about but felt like maybe I should have. I've blamed myself, been upset over things that I could do nothing about, and allowed myself to be miserable. Quite a few times, actually. Some could say I've even struggled with that today, and I know I'm not the only person who feels that. But there was one thing that always stuck with me. Something that I controlled, and something that I felt an infinite ability to control even when I was little. And And that was the things that I had a passion for. One of those things was camera work. Even as a little kid, having a tiny digital camera was enough to put me over the moon. I could take pictures. I could take videos. I could control my model trains and make them do and say things. Or I could take pictures of Legos and turn them into a moving picture. I could make companions with robots. Because as a kid, I was never especially good at interacting with people. And what's interesting is that little pool of passions never really stopped growing. Since I couldn't take control of many aspects of my life, instead, I found comfort in the things that I enjoyed. Building things, fixing things, experimenting with things. And some of those things do come from my family, but a lot of those things I realized I picked up on my own. I've always been a more creatively driven person. And yes, there is a part of me that's very logical and likes to think ahead and know what's coming at all times, but there's another part of me that's just so fascinated by what's possible thanks to the imagination. Even when I was little, I was constantly thinking of little TV shows that I was the star of, and whether or not I actually made those, spoiler alert, I never did, I've still thought about them from time to time, and it's always been fun to imagine myself as some kind of technological superhero or traveling to other worlds. A lot of my life was fantastical when I was little, because I liked the idea of escaping and doing things that other people could never do. Fast forward a little bit to the day I got my first tablet. It was with this tablet that I discovered a lot of other creative tools I had never seen access to before. And if you can imagine it, one of those things was iMovie. Yep, I kid you not, my first videos were made in iMovie. I know, real original. But yeah, that's how me becoming a video editor technically began. And what's funny is, it didn't stop there. Not only did I find a surreal amount of interest in creating videos with the pre-made iMovie trailers that made things look better than you ever could when you were, 12, I also realized that pool of interests I keep talking about was growing even more. I dabbled in music compositions, started turning those little sketches from when I was a kid into digital drawings. I was constantly learning more new things I wanted to try out, but it seemed like I couldn't really settle on one. But then I did start to settle, didn't I? I began to play around with more effects and techniques in iMovie, trying out new ideas with the videos that I was making by actually making original projects instead of just pre-made trailers. I made slideshows for my school and work. And somewhere in between there, I eventually discovered YouTube. Ah, yes. That website was something special. I mean, I'd already known about it as a kid. I was able to access it from a few different places when I was younger, from visiting friends' houses and such. But it wasn't until I got into high school where I realized just how special of a place YouTube could truly be. I mean, anyone could just walk up here, make a video, and put it out there for everyone to see, and who knows, maybe people would see it. And I have to admit, like many other kids my age, That idea just kept fascinating me until the day where eventually I decided to give it a shot for myself. And that was when it began. In the middle of a class in high school where I was learning Adobe Premiere, I was messing around with potential names for what would become my YouTube channel. And the name I chose was It's a Me Mario DS in all caps. And eventually, I had the idea to upgrade that name to It's a Me Mario 3DS to coincide with what was my new favorite console in high school. Yeah, I was a really original kid. Somewhere along the lines of searching for names people had never tried before and looking up ideas for what would make a channel sound like me, I settled on the name Danominator. I actually used that name in high school for a few videos that were just old school projects and such, but that was when I became Danominator. And ever since then, I've been trying to prove myself, and by extension this channel, worthy of that name. Now, of course, you can see in the channel's history that that's not exactly what happened. In 2018, when I was in the thick of college and gaining a little extra time on my hands, I decided that now was the perfect time, without any prior knowledge, or equipment for that matter, to start making YouTube videos. I uploaded my first video, titled Meet Dan, and promised a review of Super Mario Maker for the Nintendo 3DS. Which to this day, still hasn't happened. I guess you could say I went into video making with the impression that, oh, since I've seen all these other YouTubers and the mistakes they made early on, I wasn't gonna be that person. Danominator was gonna hit the ground running and make a perfect series of 3DS game reviews that would echo into the sands of time forever as some of the best videos on this platform. Well, obviously that's not what ended up happening. Instead, I essentially ended up dabbling in every kind of video that I could think of, and it turned out that my channel's library became just about as scattered as my interests were. And unfortunately, over the years, I've thought of even more things I'm interested in, things that I'm passionate for, which means that this channel will probably always be just a little all over the place. No matter how much I brand things or try new things and create new series that actually manage to get consistent videos every year, I will probably always be at least a little random. And that's kind of because I tend to be a guy of many talents and a master of none. And when I say many talents, I use that term very lightly because some of these things I am not good at all. I barely have enough time to work on music composition, and frankly, I'm not even great at music theory, except what I can hear in my own head. Transposing stuff to sheet music is a lot harder than it looks. Stop motion I can't say I've ever been especially good at, except for the few videos I managed to complete on my 3DS and my iPad back in the day. And even down to the videos that I make here, there's always been a sense of, well, Dan uploaded, this could be anything. And yet, somehow, we're still here. 5 years later. You might have noticed, if you're an avid fan of the channel, that this video was not uploaded on December 31st. Instead, it's being uploaded on January 1st, 2024. That's because, as of now, Danominator, the channel of my random interests and occasional exasperated speaking of topics that have no right to be talked about as long as I do, is a channel of 5 years and over 500 subscribers. I'm still trying to fathom how that's even possible. I've never seen myself as a guy who really had a lot of potential to be all that special outside of the things I imagined. It took me a long time to really figure out what I wanted things on this channel to look like. It took me a long time to make any branding or a style that I was proud of. And I've made plenty of mistakes during this process. I feel like I'm still constantly learning things about how on earth this platform ticks, and to be honest, I probably always will be because Lord knows YouTube is always changing and usually not for the better. But this channel, despite being as occasionally random and unpredictable as it is still here, and it's growing. It's being supported. I'm still trying to understand just how this happened. I know I've been doing things a little more consistently now, making certain videos that are actually yearly now, and streaming is also definitely helping. But honestly, outside of that, this is completely unprecedented for me. To think that that little kid, who essentially had no experience whatsoever, with a bunch of random interests that only he himself seemed to care about, is now making videos that a ton of people seem to care about, is weird. I understand at the end of the day, this story really doesn't mean that much to anyone, but maybe someone else out there understands it as a creator. I've been trying to figure out what I want Danominator to be for years. Some could say that I'm even still doing that as we speak. But something about the way things have been on this channel has almost always felt right to me. I've barely removed any videos from this place. Although I wouldn't exactly recommend you go watch my old stuff, you will find problems, including the fact you can barely see or hear me properly in some of them. I'm starting to think that this is just kind of part of the YouTuber life cycle. You think, oh yeah, my first video and all this cool stuff I'm gonna make is gonna be great, and then you go back and look at it and realize it was all cringe. But that's the creative process, I guess. We're always learning new things, always getting better. And in between all of that, I've been learning a lot more about myself as a person. This video is not here for me to get overly personal, but I will admit that this year was difficult for me. I graduated college, finally moved back home, got myself a real nice full-time job and all that, and I'm officially adulting. Granted, there's more things I'll be doing in the future, such as eventually moving out, and, well, who knows what else the future could hold. But I have a lot of things to work on before I can say I'm truly proud of what I've done on this planet. I'm really hoping that this channel can be one of those things someday, but currently I feel like it's still a lot of sentimental value from me in my learning process, figuring out what I want this channel and by extension my life to be like. Even though my life has been full of twists and turns and many ups and downs, some where I came out a lot happier and some where I came out solemn and upset. Those early videos where I was just getting my bearings, those happy memories that I'll never get back because eventually we all have to grow up at some point. Those good things that have happened to me over the past 5 years, and those bad things that have forced me to learn things I really need to improve about myself. All of it means something to me. And I think Danominator, in some ways, is kind of an extension of everything that my life has been leading up to. I know that this is kind of a weird way to go for a self-review yearly video, but I guess I'm just feeling a little sentimental. It's kind of hard for me not to be. I guess what I'm trying to really say here is I'm thankful for all of it. And I don't know if I would change the course of my life or the memories I've had for anything. Because I learned a lot from them. I gained new passions because of them. I made new friends along with them. So, here's to those memories. Those things that I'll never be able to do again, and those brand new possibilities that are still waiting for me. The friends I lost, and the new friends I gained along the way, despite that. The videos that I've made on this channel, and the ones that no one will ever see. The good things, and the bad things. Here's to a brand new start. I have to tell you, that little kid is still here, and he still has a lot of passions. He makes a lot of mistakes. He occasionally has very long-winded talks about things he likes, even though no one is likely to listen that long. And at the end of the day, that kid is still Danominator. I want to thank everyone who has been along with me for this ride, for any length of time you've chosen to be here. Whether you were here for that first video or watching me film a squirrel in the backyard. For those who gave my streams a chance, and those who decided that it probably wasn't worth the time to watch because you could barely see me and my audio quality was terrible. For those who liked, for those who disliked, for those who commented, and for those who didn't bother. For those who followed this channel's rocky history and slow uphill battle. And those who decided it wasn't that great and eventually dipped out. I'm so thankful for all of you. And I know that this may not seem like a big deal to anyone else, but it means the world to me. Because at the end of the day, I want to use whatever God-given talents I have left to make things that are going to make people happy. I feel so extremely blessed to have a channel that I can say I built basically on my own, but also with the support of so many people. Some that are extremely close to me and have been by my side since I was 1 day old, and those that I've only met recently, and some I'll never meet. I'm thankful for all of you, because you guys are what make me Danominator. I don't know what the future itself looks like for me, but I know that I am starting to slowly take control of those things that occasionally scared me. Things I never thought I could do on my own, I'm starting to. And I hope you're looking forward to the future of this channel. Because we're not done. Not by a long shot. I have many projects I still need to finish. I have a PC I need to build. So many new games I want to play. New passions I want to share with you and the world. And all the while, I hope to keep making this channel even better. A better representation of who I am, the things I love talking about, and the things that make me happy. If I'm doing my job right, I hope they'll make you a little happier too. So, of course, until next video, see you later, Ominators. Thank you for everything, and I hope you'll look forward to whatever comes next.
Happy New Year! I exist now!